On Tuesday, April 4th, 2017, reports start coming in of an alleged chemical attack at a hospital in the town of Khan Sheikhoun, located in the Idlib province of Syria. Media outlets were quick to relentlessly inundate an unsuspecting public with pictures, video, and references to women and children in perilous conditions, which was disseminated by the now infamous group known as the White Helmets. It's understandable how any decent person would have been morally outraged by the pictures and video that the mainstream media was presenting during their reporting. But that's exactly when cooler heads must prevail in order to take an objective look at the situation to gather facts and evidence instead of being driven by emotion. The only problem was, the mainstream media didn't have any facts or evidence. All they had were pictures and video being supplied by the group known as the White Helmets, and some testimony from a doctor, a man which CNN described as the doctor who cannot be named for security reasons. But that's just not true. Dr. Islam was openly broadcasting videos and asking people to talk to him on his Twitter account. It's where all the mainstream media outlets got their information from.
The images posted online could not be independently verified by the CBC. This one shows victims being hosed off in the streets.
This hospital is now being overwhelmed with patients that are being hit by some sort of chemical. This is not chlorine.
A doctor points to the dilated pupils on his patients. He believes a nerve gas like sarin has been used and that other victims have been seen vomiting and foaming at the mouth.
The gas attacks are continuing every day and no one is doing anything to stop these gas attacks. Unfortunately, we have a lot of these days, but most of the time the world's just not interested. They're dropping on civilian population by, now it's the civilian population of Syria, soon it will be the civilian population of America in a subway or something.
It was a slam dunk. Media outlets across the board had all the evidence they needed from the heroic doctor who was risking his life to save women and children slaughtered by the evil Assad government, who attacked innocent civilians in Idlib with sarin gas. And thanks to the generosity of the heartbroken people around the world, the kind doctor was able to raise over £100,000 in the past week for his cause.
So I just want to update you what's happening with the money you donated to the emergency appeal that was done by One Nation. We are working with doctors in the UK, very senior doctors in the UK, as well as liaising with all the doctors in Syria, all of the ones that are dealing with the gas attack, to figure out what the best ways and what the best drugs we need.
It's always nice when people from around the world come together after a tragedy, in this case to support the wonderful doctor risking his life for such a noble cause. Coincidentally, the One Nation charity organization is under investigations for its ties to Islamic extremism. Although regardless of that, hopefully the donations will keep pouring into assist him as he builds his new hospital.
I want to show you something. This is the future of hospitals in Syria. This is a new project that we're currently building, and this is a cave which has about 13 meters of mountain on top of it. So if you come inside with me, I'm going to show you around as to what we're having to do to survive the attacks that are targeting our hospitals directly. This is all inside the cave. Come. This underground inner cave hospital is 800 meters squared. We have about 10 to 15 rooms this size, and if you can see, come out with me. It has a full tunnel network. It has a full tunnel network with emergency escapes and ventilation. And you know what? It doesn't matter what hits it on the top. We don't feel any impact. So this is what we are having to do to survive the direct targeting of hospitals in Syria, and this is the future. And you can help us equip this hospital, and please do try to assist us so that we can make all hospitals safe like this soon. Thank you.
Hopefully people will consider the fine doctor's heartfelt plea and send donations to the JIHADI-linked charity organization to help build his cave hospital and protect against bombings from, as Dr. Islam describes in one of his recent retweets, from his buddy Bill, the American terrorists. There's one more small detail that should be noted about the good doctor Shahjul Islam. He's no longer allowed to practice as a doctor. In 2012, he had his medical license suspended. In March of 2016, Islam was struck off the medical register for misconduct after a 16-day closed hearing of the Medical Practitioners Tribunal, where evidence was given of Islam's connection to a jihadist group that kidnapped Dutch journalist Jeroen Earlemans and British journalist John Cantley after they crossed into Syria from Turkey on July 19, 2012, where they were held hostage for 9 days before escaping. Kidnapping and terrorism charges were brought against Shahjul Islam, his brother Najul, and Jubair Chowdhury for the role that they played in the abductions of Earlemans and Cantley.
Shahjul Islam, a 26-year-old British-born man who appeared at Westminster Magistrates Court today, has been charged with the kidnapping of the British photographer John Cantley in Syria and has been remanded in custody. He was travelling with his wife from Egypt and was arrested at Heathrow Airport on the 9th of October. Islam is accused of imprisoning John Cantley and the Dutch journalist Jeroen Earlemans in an Islamic training camp for a week against their will. Wednesday's court hearing was told by the prosecutor Piers Arnold that Mr Islam, a trainee doctor who studied at St Bart's and University London Hospital, had joined a jihadist group in Syria and worked as a medic for them.
Shahjul Islam has not appeared yet. Probably within the hour he's due in front of District Judge Michael Snow. He's charged under the Terrorism Act of unlawfully and injuriously imprisoning Mr Cantley and Mr Earlemans against their will, contrary to common law and section 63B of the Terrorism Act. So basically he's charged with kidnapping these two photographers in Syria, near the Turkish-Syria border in July. They were taken on the 17th of July and released finally on the 26th of July. So 9 days or so that they were held by, they say, a group of Islamists, obviously incredibly fearful that they would wind up being killed.
In an August 26, 2012 Daily Mail interview, John Cantley said that Shahjul Islam was an Islamic fanatic who had taken a sabbatical to wage jihad holy war in Syria and help bring the country under Sharia law before returning to his post in South London. Cantley added, Islam said treating jihadists wounded in battle was good training. Cantley also said when Islam told him he was an NHS doctor, Cantley thought it was weird, thinking, this is a man who has taken an oath to save people and help them, and here he is walking around with a Kalashnikov and preaching Sharia law. There are not any doctors who I know that do that, Cantley said. Cantley further went on to explain that Dr. Islam was part of a group led by a Saudi national who were planning to behead what the group thought were spies, and that Islam was furious when the execution of the two Syrians he believed to be undercover agents was halted because Islam wanted them beheaded. Due to an unfortunate turn of events, the prosecution had to drop the charges against the three men at the last minute before the trial was set to go forth. It was also at this time that it was found out Shahjul Islam had went to Syria just weeks after his younger brother Razul Islam went there to join an extremist group. When police searched the Islam family home, they found literature from Hizb ut-Tahrir, an organization whose goal is to re-establish the Islamic Caliphate and subjugate the world into a global Islamic state. The police also found extremist videos including speeches by Anwar al-Awlaki, who was the trusted spiritual advisor to Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Midhar, two of the hijackers from the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks. The reason the prosecution had to drop the charges wasn't for lack of evidence. It was only because the two witnesses couldn't or wouldn't testify in the case against Shahjul Islam. One of the two witnesses was John Cantley himself, who was unable to testify because he was again taken by jihadis just 4 months after his first incident with Islam, this time with American journalist James Foley, outside an internet cafe in Syria close to the Turkish border, as they were on their way back from filming a story about Cantley's first abduction by Islam and his group of jihadis. The other witness was Jeroen Earlemans, the Dutch photographer who was taken the first time with Cantley. Earlemans didn't want to testify against Shahjul Islam for fear that Cantley would be killed by the jihadis who abducted Cantley and Foley. A very unfortunate circumstance all around. Even more unfortunate was when, in August of 2014, a video appeared on the internet of James Foley being beheaded by the Islamic State. Authorities immediately sought to talk to Shahjul Islam, believing Islam would have information that would lead to the ISIL militant in the video who had a British accent. About a month after James Foley was beheaded, John Cantley reappeared in a series of ISIL propaganda videos in which it seemed like he was forced to make. The videos appeared on the internet over the next couple months, starting on September 18th, 2014, with the last one being released on November 24th, 2014. In February of 2015, Cantley once again emerged in another video from Aleppo.
I want to show our viewers some new video that we've just received. This is video from ISIS. It shows the British hostage, John Cantley, in the Syrian city of Aleppo. Watch.
Hello, I'm John Cantley. In the last film in this series, we're in a city that has been at the heart of the fighting since summer 2012.
The interesting thing about this video is what Cantley says later on when referring to the White Helmets. The group who we are made to believe are the heroes who risk their lives to indiscriminately save people from death and destruction. John Cantley refers to the White Helmets as the Islamic State Fire Brigade.
The Fire Brigade, the Islamic State Fire Brigade are here trying to clear up the mess. The Islamic State Fire Brigade are here trying to clear up the mess. The Islamic State Fire Brigade are here trying to clear up the mess. The Islamic State Fire Brigade are here trying to clear up the mess. But it's absolute pandemonium. And all this follows a drone which we saw 5 minutes ago, and then Assad's Air Force comes in and drops bombs on the market. Now, as far as I know, the Syrian Air Force does not have drones. That must have been an American drone.
The fact that the White Helmets are actually jihadis and not the courageous group we are led to believe is something the people of Syria have known from the beginning, and others familiar with the situation there have known for quite some time now. Getting back to the former doctor turned committed jihadist, in anticipation people would start to find out who he really is, Shahjul Islam sat down with his buddy Bill from New York for an interview a few days after the alleged chemical attack in the province of Idlib, the last of the terrorist strongholds in Syria, where they now both reside after fleeing Aleppo.
The only part I had, the only role I had with John Cantley and Jeroen Earlemans in 2012 was as a doctor attending to my patients. There is nothing in the evidence to support their claims and the accusations they had against me. The General Medical Council, which regulate doctors in the UK, decided to start their own investigation. A lot of the evidence that the GMC wanted to use against me was from items related to the police. Yeah, I mean, I ended up losing my license in the UK because I didn't challenge it in the UK, because I couldn't challenge it.
The former native New Yorker, Daryl Lamont Phelps, who now goes by the name Bilal Abdul Karim, is a well-known jihadi propagandist, which is very obvious to anyone that takes the time to look through his videos. Bilal uses his platform to drum up sympathy for murderers, while spreading anti-Western sentiment and helping to recruit impressionable people to go join the Islamic Jihad in Syria. Unlike other journalists who get kidnapped or beheaded by Islamic terrorists, this, quote, journalist has open access to some of the biggest names in the terrorist industry as he interviews various jihadis, such as former senior official in Al-Qaeda-affiliated Al-Nusra Front, Abu Faraz al-Suri, who was taken out in April of 2016 by an airstrike in Idlib. There's also Sheikh Siraka, a Sharia preacher from Saudi Arabia, now preaching and fighting in Syria, as well as Abdullah al-Muhassini, the Saudi Arabian cleric who went to Syria and quickly became a prominent leader among the Islamic terrorists trying to overthrow Assad and create an Islamic state in Syria.
يا أمتنا الحبيبة والله الذي لا إله غيره إنها معركة واحدة. المشروع الصفوي رأس الأخطبوط في الشام، ورجله الأولى في اليمن الحوثيين، ورجله الثانية في لبنان حزب الشيطان، ورجله الثالثة في العراق، فأعينونا على قتل رأس حزب الشيطان وعلى رأس الأخطبوط في الشام.
As well as sharing the same residence in the jihadi-infested Idlib province of Syria, Bilal also shares the same appreciation as his buddy Shajul Islam does for Anwar al-Awlaki, the trusted spiritual advisor of the two Saudi hijackers from 9/11, Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Midhar. This can be seen in a very telling email exchange Bilal was part of in 2009.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.